So, welcome, Morag. Thank you so much for being here to speak to me today and to share your insights from your time inside of Sovereign Sounds. Because you've been with us for probably about a year or so now. Is that right?
I think maybe a little bit longer. I think we might be up at almost two. That crazy?
Okay. Wow.
Really fast. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good. So I'm excited because I feel like also the way that you share your voice has a real kind of poetry and artistry to it. So no pressure, but I'm just really excited to hear your insights from inside. So the first question I'd love to ask you is, how would you describe the environment and the community inside of Sovereign Sounds?
I think the first thing that always comes to mind is it's incredibly safe in a very genuine, inclusive, flexible way. I feel like it's very safe for the collective and the individual. They kind of tune into the energy of how is everybody doing individually, but what's just up in the collective. So and I love that adaptability of the environment that we're just in that moment in time responding to it. And it's really interesting because I find it an incredibly gentle space, but paradoxically also really fierce. And what I mean by that is that everyone is prepared to go deep. Like I always feel like we're the kind of people who are like, let's not talk about the weather. Let's get right into the deep kind of thing. But it's never in a driving kind of a way. It's that gentleness just runs through everything. And yet there is so much, and I mean fierce in the best sense of the word, like the people that are there are like fiercely committed to their passions and they're fiercely committed to the group. And so there's always that strength, I think, that comes. So we're always playing, I always feel like this, that it's a real playful space. We're playing in paradoxes all of the time of like gentle and strong and all of that. So, which I find a really, it's really nurturing because I think that's the most real that I've ever been. There isn't that bent towards one thing. We're only interested in one thing. We're allowing all of it to be. And I think that's a really rare thing to have, to be in a space where you can allow everything all in that one moment and not be overwhelmed by it. I think that's the gentleness that comes in. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you. Yeah, I think that space of, I hesitate to use the word authenticity because there's a lot that comes with it, but that feels like a natural ingredient in the space that people can come with whatever is alive for them on the day, in the moment, and that all of them is fully received in that experience. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think it always tells, doesn't it? Like at the beginning of our calls, you'll often get people, and I certainly feel this, you just turn up and the moment that you see the space gathering, you just go, oh, okay. Like all the masks can come away, everything can just be as it is, and I can truly be that here, including all the good stuff, right? Like we often do that authenticity of like to be vulnerable and all that kind of stuff, but sometimes come up like, I've just had the biggest win ever, and I want to be able to say it, and I don't want to feel like, oh, should I be more humble about this amazing thing that I've done? Like it allows all of it. Kind of thing. So that and that allows you to really get to who you are because you're not constantly having to think, how am I going to be perceived? Am I going to be judged? Can I really be this? You can just be it. So, yeah,
Love that. Thank you. Yeah, no censoring. We celebrate everything, the wins and the difficulties equally. Thank you so much. My next question is about if there are any tangible kind of celebrations or inner shifts or results that you feel aligned to share, that you've experienced since joining the temple space.
yeah, it's really interesting because I was trying to think back of like, why did I join? Kind of thing, like all of that time ago. And I've done a lot of coaching, I've done a lot of therapy, I've done a lot of that kind of, go into self-awareness and all that sort of thing. And I'm a very, if left unchecked, I'm a very thinky brain sort of an individual. It's like, and a good number of years ago, I would have told you that, my mind is the only thing that matters and my body just carries my mind around. And I kind of like, of course, over time, you start to think, maybe that's not true. Kind of thing. And so I can remember doing the open door session and just being in that space of there's a bridge here that I'm not connecting between my mind and my body is getting louder, as often happens, right? Your body starts to go, excuse me, like what the heck do you think you're playing at? So I'm also here. Can you pay me some attention? And I was trying to find something that would mean I didn't have to think and I didn't have to be like, oh, what's the right answer? Like, I'm going to do this course and I'm going to get to the end and I'm going to get this qualification or I'm going to do this coaching because I've got this very specific thing that I want to change. It was more that I wanted, like I say, to form that connection and start to see myself much more holistically and kind of how could these parts of me be talking to one another, what might be going on. And I can remember joining and really, and almost, and I think this is what's great about it, I didn't really understand what we were doing. That kind of, like you have to immediately fall into trust kind of thing. And I can really vividly remember some people talking about, because this is the beauty of the group as well, there's so much knowledge and different people have different I don't know what it would be, knowledge bases that they pull into, different wisdoms, different ancestral wisdoms that they're pulling from. So they use a language that I haven't heard before. So I remember the first kind of few sessions, I'm like, I don't know what these people are talking about, but it's magical. Like I know that it's good. And so it was allowing my brain to kind of just like shush now, like just feel into this feeling in your body and energetically that this feels good. So just carry on. So it really helped to build that bridge between the two. And then I think over time, as you brought so much more of, well, as I could receive more of your wisdom, because it was always there, and more of your healing and more of, it's really funny. I think it's that you ground us in expansion, because there was almost this thing where you also kind of be like, and every dimension of you, and every life of you, and even the parts of you that are just the cells that, that, like, hang on a minute, there isn't just a bridge between my mind and my body. There's a bridge between my mind, my body, my soul, my ancestors, my future lives, just the collective energy. And so then and I say that expansion, kind of being grounded, goes back to what we say about the space, right? Trying to allow everything. Can you feel everything in this moment and not be overwhelmed by it? So that for me was a really massive win, because it meant that bit of my brain that would always be a bit kind of inner critic, and it's obviously, it's always still there, right? These things that you kind of struggle with, but they get less. But it's the practice and the lived experience of it. So remember that being like, that's my kind of, as I take a macro view, I'm much more prepared to think about that. Like, oh, this thing that's up for me right now, like, is that a collective thing? Is that an individual thing? Is it both? Is it happening to me? Is it an ancestor thing? Like, I just have a lot more play and curiosity, which I think takes away that kind of I'm broken feeling that can come from other things. Like, why can't I just get it right? And so that was a major win. And I can remember really distinctly, because I think when I started, you start with some of the things that you always do. So I started with a kind of like, oh, I'm gonna get toning really right. Like, how do I tone right in this session? And you'd be like, and so I would always be in the toning of it and almost like, oh no, I'm not holding it as long as Emily is, or like, oh no, I'm out of sync with Emily. And so that bit was constantly like, we're in conversation kind of stuff. And then it starts to ease away. It's like, okay, so what if we do it alternating? What if we don't do it there? And I remember turning up at one session and I was just completely depleted. Like, that part of me didn't have any energy to be able to do any of that. And I think even said, like, I'm here, but I'm like I've got nothing to offer right now. Like, I'm done. And he said, you just receive. And I was like, what do you mean? Just receive? Like, like, you don't even have to say anything. And I was like, don't even have to try. Like, like this, all of these things were a bit foreign. And I remember distinctly finishing that session and feeling, I can feel it now, I feel the emotion now, that I was valuable just because. It was like the whole temple kind of, I was like, okay, I can literally just sit here. Like, I've just basically told you my worst fear, which is like, I've turned up and I feel useless right now. And you've all gone, welcome, just receive. And I was like, and I really felt it. I think that was a real turning point and a real celebration of then, okay, to really have that lived experience of you're valuable just because you are. Then it's like, then from that platform, you can be like, oh, okay, well, what if we play with all these other things then? Like, if that's true and it never felt true before, what else could be true? So for me, it's a continuous journey. Like, every time we do something, it's a continuous journey. But yeah, that's, I think, yeah, the biggest wins is trust, I guess. Trust to play, mysterious. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much, yeah, for that reminder of the importance of our value through just being and the power of our presence. And for those who are watching, when Morag was talking about the toning, she's talking about sound toning that we use as one of the main structures that support us in our process of integration, and in also kind of freeing and liberating our true voice. Oh, stunning, thank you. And my final question is there anything that you would like to share with people who are watching and might be curious to try an open door session with us?
Oh, I mean, if you're curious, do it. Because the thing, you've already got all the information that you need, right? It is a space of embracing that curiosity. So if there's any part of you that is feeling pulled into seeing what it's like, see what it's like. You know, it is. It's an immensely loving space. It's full of very interesting people who will very fiercely have your back. I find the wisdom that you bring, Emily, and the healing that you bring, it is transformational, but in a way that your nervous system can actually take it on board. Like I say, I feel like it's really important to stress that to people, that there is an overwhelm in this space, and there is acceptance of what you need, and that those things can all happen. I think sometimes we do these check-ins with groups, you know, sometimes if you're in a different energy to the rest of the group, you can sort of feel like, I can't really get what I need from this because I'm aware that the majority of this group are feeling a different way to me. Never had that feeling. So it really does allow that flexibility for whatever you have. And it's not in competition with the others. It can hold all of it. And that's really quite something. And I think just that feeling of support. And I trust in it, and it questions. And I think this is why you should go, because it allows you to start questioning in a very loving way, are the things that you feel and believe and think actually true? And it just starts to very gently sow the seeds. So for me, even simple things like they're not recorded. And so for me, that's that, like, am I really getting value if it's not recorded? And then if I can't go, is it still valuable to me? And I'm kind of like, yes, I love that it's not recorded now. Like at the beginning, I was like, uh-oh, better check. Because it makes you question, kind of, do I need to be there this time? Am I prepared to move things to be there? Am I prepared to put myself first above other things? And sometimes the answer to that is, but no, there is something else actually that I need to go and do. But now I'll set my watch on my phone to vibrate when I know that it's going to start, just so that I know energetically, oh, they've gathered. And then I'll still be in my meeting, but I've just got that energy of like, oh, it's happening. So like now it's like, okay, so stay tuned for it. Like, because if something's happening and they're going to send me stuff, like now's the time that it might come through, kind of like just be a bit alert. So it's all of those things. Like you can still get value even when you're not physically in the space. So yeah, and I just think that to be really playful and curious with it. So when it's an open door section, like that is the definition of a no-brainer all the way around for me. Just go and see. So,
Beautiful. Thank you so much for everything you shared. I'm really appreciative of your time and the way that you've described as well your own experience. It's so unique to each person, and you bring so much to the space as well through just simply being you. So thank you so much for the journeying we've done together and for everything you shared today.
thank you.